This is Nino. You've probably seen Nino in like every race video lately. He's the team mascot. Growing up in South Africa, we had the most awesome dogs. We had like a St. Bernard, we had German Shepherds, we had a couple of rescue dogs. But moving around so much now, don't get to have dogs. So I'm always keen to take one for a walk. Let's do a little race and power analysis from this past weekend's racing. On the Saturday, I raced the Reading 120, and on Sunday, I raced the Bucks County Classic. If you haven't watched the race vlogs, just go back and watch them. Kind of gives an idea of how the race went down, and my toast is ready. To me, the Reading 120 is definitely the more interesting race to dig into. It was longer, it was more complex, there was a lot more dynamics and a lot more things going on. So I'm going to center this around the Reading 120. Before digging into the race, let's talk about build-up, because that really was my downfall. In the pre-race vlog and the morning of the race, I was kind of nervous about it. Little nervous this morning, but coming into the race, my preparation was far from perfect. It was far from what I normally do. And part of that was just due to being busy and a lot of travel and just being all over the place. And just not really being in one place and knuckling down into my training really cost me on race day. I mean, the decision to race Reading was only made maybe a week before, so it was hard to really focus on a build-up when there was this question mark over my participation in the first place. And it's not that I was unfit, I just lacked a bit of that top-end form on race day. More toast. I'm having a bit of trouble with my power analyzing software, so we're going to have to resort to good old Garmin Connect. So the race was 200k. It was made up of 2 big loops and then 3 smaller loops. Each loop, the big and the small, included an ascent of Mount Penn. The commissaires made it really clear before the race and at the briefing the night before that if you were more than 5 minutes behind at the base of Mount Penn, you would be pulled from the race. Apparently last year there were riders just all over the shop, and it was a real problem with road closures and congestion, and it caused big problems. So this year they decided to be really strict and cut riders at the finish line if they were more than 5 minutes behind. So the race was supposed to be 200k, but I actually didn't ride the full 200k. I got pulled with 1 lap to go because I was more than 5 minutes behind the front riders. I was still given a place, and I have no doubt in my mind I would have finished the race if I'd been allowed to, so I'm not overly concerned about that. My race time was 4 hours and 50 minutes, which gave me an average speed of just over 37, and that includes a rather ginger last lap of Mount Penn. I was pretty done. The course was also far from flat. I had 2,500 meters of elevation across that 185k, so touching on 3,000 for the full race if I'd been allowed to finish it. The biggest challenge on the day was the heat. That was by far the most difficult thing we had to deal with. The minimum temperature at the race was 30 degrees, the average was 35 degrees centigrade, and the maximum was 40. It was a cooking day out there. If I look at my heart rate data, I can really see that I was struggling in the heat, as was everyone else. I had an average heart rate of 155, which is slightly high for a long race like that, but the maximum was 188, and I never go to 188. Riding in that heat just pushes it up that little bit more because your body is working extra hard to stay cool. With the heat being such a factor, teamwork was really important. I had 4 awesome teammates on the start line. Myself and my teammate Brett were the protected riders for the day, and then we had Tyler, Matt, and Cameron, who were basically just fetching bottles and food for us and helping us where they could. In the end, I think I went through 9 bottles in the 5 hours, and then 2 Cokes as well. So it was a lot of liquid. A lot of that was water, because taking on too much sugar can just make you feel so sick. At about the 150k mark, I kind of knew that I wasn't on a great day, and my legs were starting to really feel it. So I actually went back and fetched bottles for Brett and fed him and stuff before getting dropped on the next ascent of Mount Penn. So I'm glad I did that because I think it helped him out, but I wasn't going to be there from then onwards anyway. So looking into the actual power data, there's nothing overly impressive. I think the heat really does take a bit out of you and stops you riding as hard as you maybe could otherwise. The feeling from the start was that it was really hard, but it just never got easier. It was never hard enough to crack you. Well, it wasn't hard enough to crack me, but I was constantly thinking, this is uncomfortable. And it stayed like that for a good hour and a half of the race. I checked out my normalized power after an hour and a half, and it was somewhere around 317 watts, which is not insane, but in that heat, it was pretty solid. I also tried to get into a couple moves in the start. I probably tried 5 or 6 times to get away, and my biggest numbers are actually from that first 30 minutes where I was trying to get away a bit, but after about 30 minutes the move slipped away and I was just really starting to boil and overheat, and I thought it's better to stop trying to get across. So I went and sat back a bit and tried to recover. The numbers in the first half an hour were nothing special. I had a 5-second peak of 983 watts trying to jump off the front. I had a 30-second peak of 627 watts, again, some big efforts trying to get away. A 1-minute peak of 518 watts and a 5-minute peak of 379. Even my peak 10-minute and 20-minute power were nothing special. 10 minutes at 340 watts and 20 minutes at 294 watts. I can do all of those comfortably in training, but it was the combination of the distance, the heat, the sort of constantly hard tempo that actually got the better of me in the end. The average power for the entire race was 222 watts, so really nothing special. Something I could do in training, no problem, but it wasn't just 222 watts. It comes along with a normalized power of 277 watts, which again, nothing special, but across 5 hours is a pretty tough effort. That being said, it's a race that I think really suits me in the future, and I definitely would love to go back to that race and go back with top form and really prove what I'm capable of there. For now, I'm taking a week off the bike. The season is not actually over yet. We have a stage race still coming up in November, which I'm super excited about, but I'll share the details of that probably in a week or so.